Please welcome Chris Smith with his speech entitled Lessons from a Tree. With his speech entitled Lessons from a Tree, please welcome Chris Smith.
It was American philosopher Elton Trueblood who first said, "Man is beginning to understand the humanity of man when he plants a shade tree under which he knows full well he will never sit." Contest Chair, my fellow Toastmasters and guests, I've had a love of trees since a very early age, probably since 5 years of age when I fell out of my first tree, and I've learned many lessons since. And today I would like to just share 3 lessons from trees. During the 1970s, a group of scientists from all over the world gathered together to build a huge geodesic dome, a sealed glass structure the size of a football field. They wanted to know if man could live inside a sealed structure in case of a man-made or a natural disaster, or perhaps if one day we were to colonise another planet. And God knows at the rate we're destroying this one, perhaps all 3 are likely. One of the things they noticed in their geodesic dome was that the trees grew much quicker than they did on the outside. They grew much straighter than they did on the outside, and they were much more symmetrical than they were on the outside. But just prior to maturing, the branches became brittle and the trees died. And the scientists all rushed in to find out why. Why would these plants, these trees living in a pristine environment, in a utopian environment, why would they die? Yet the plants on the outside, the plants that had to face up to the ravages of nature, they survived. They tested the soil for the moisture content, and it was perfect. And they tested the soil for the nutrients, and it too was perfect. And they even tested the air, and again, it was perfect. So why did these trees die? Yet those trees that faced the flood and the drought and the wind and the rain, they all survived. And the scientists rushed to test the trees on the outside. And one of their main discoveries, and not surprising, was that as a tree bends with the wind, it elongates the fibres on the outer part of the tree and compresses the fibres on the inner part. And as the tree rocks back, it stretches the fibres on the opposite side and compresses these. And they discovered that a tree gains its strength from facing up to the elements. It doesn't gain its strength from living in that pristine environment. It's from what Mother Nature throws at it. That's where it gains its strength. And perhaps we are the same. Perhaps our strength doesn't come from living in a perfect world. Our strength comes from living and facing the elements. If you've survived, perhaps it's because you've overcome everything that's been thrown at you so far. Walking amongst our 500-year-old gum trees on our newly acquired farm, a farm we bought 18 months ago, we look for droppings underneath the tree, koala droppings, fresh koala droppings, because then we're rewarded with a koala above. And one of the first times that we ever walked among the trees, I noticed all the other droppings. There was droppings from kangaroo and from wombat, from the sheep and from the cattle and from the myriad of birds that use the tree as its home. And I thought to myself, this tree is 500 years of age. Hasn't it done enough? Hasn't it proved itself? Hasn't it earned some respite from all these animals? And it made me think about my Toastmasters journey. 13 years I've been a Toastmaster, and I've always tried to be a mentor, be on the committee, and be an active and competitive person in Toastmasters. And sometimes I think, haven't I done enough? Haven't I earned some respite? But the message and the lesson came from the tree. You see, the tree is nature's air conditioner. It provides coolness and shade on the hottest of summer's days, and it provides warmth on the coldest of winter days. It encourages every animal out there to come and use its facilities, to shelter in its branches and its trees or underneath. It asks all the animals to come there. And the larger animals break up the soil and they aerate it, and the microorganisms and the worms can aerate the soil even further. And then when the rains come, it fertilises the ground with all the droppings and feeds the root system, and the tree becomes even stronger than it was before. The tree has learned that no matter what it does, it will be paid back tenfold. When we drove into our property for the very first time, it was my third lesson. A tree of about 10 metres had fallen over our front fence and channel, and it was parallel to our driveway, and all its roots were exposed. And I thought, as soon as the tree dies, I'll cut it into firewood because nothing on the farm is wasted. But the tree never died. Instead, every 500 millimetres along the trunk, it sent up shoots that turned into their own mini trees, like a sentinel of trees that reminded me that life can still go on, even though your base is bared to the open and all your roots are exposed. But on further inspection, I found just one root the thickness of my hand, my wrist, that was still plunged into the ground, because the tree, even though I had given up on it, the tree had not given up on itself. And where there is hope, there is life. And with just one grip on life, it grabbed on. We too can be the same. No matter who counts you out or how you feel, always reach for the stars. And whether it's your personal life or your business or your health, you need to hold on and reach up, because you can still grow no matter who's counted you out, as long as you have a small grip on life. But make it a tenacious grip. My fellow Toastmasters, we don't grow stronger from living in a pristine society. We grow stronger because we have faced the ravages that have been thrown at us. We're still standing. If we encourage all those people around us, it will pay us back tenfold. And no matter what happens in your life and who counts you out, always make sure you've got a grip on life, because life is worth living. Just make it a tenacious grip. Plant a tree today, so that not for yourself, but for future generations. And please sit under a tree and begin your life's learning. Toastmasters.